Have you ever wondered why some people seem to crush every workout, stay completely consistent, and stay on their diet week after week, month after month, while you find yourself unmotivated and unable to get the shredded body that you've been wanting? Well, the truth is, it's not just willpower or discipline, it comes down to dopamine. Dopamine isn't just a feel-good chemical, it's your motivational molecule. It actually makes you want to tackle hard tasks and gives you that reward when you accomplish something difficult. And it's the thing that will allow you to stay consistent on your diet, on your fitness, in order to get the shredded body that you've always desired. So if you're not optimizing your dopamine, reaching your goal physique can feel almost impossible. On my journey to getting shredded in the past, I had to learn how to manage dopamine very significantly in order to keep myself motivated and on track with my diet. And even though I'm not single-digit body fat anymore, I find dopamine manipulation to be extremely important in my everyday life, just to make sure that I can maintain a relatively lean physique throughout the year. So today I'm breaking down 8 dopamine hacks that boosted my energy, focus, and motivation. These tricks made staying consistent easier than it's ever been before, and they're going to help you get shredded in 2025. And if you're new here, my name is Shashank, and after pushing myself to the max physically, mentally, and emotionally for 2 years, I wound up completely burnt out, paralyzed in the hospital, unable to look at light, and I'm now rebuilding myself in a healthier and happier way while learning to listen to my nervous system. I've learned a lot about hormones, health, and mental recovery, and so on this channel I'm sharing what I have learned and am learning so that you can build your dream physique and mindset without experiencing the burnout. So with that, let's get into the video. So the first thing to do is to eat tyrosine-rich foods. Tyrosine is actually an amino acid that helps your body synthesize dopamine. It can be found in foods like avocados, almonds, turkey, eggs, and dairy. I personally noticed that I used to have a lot of cravings before I started incorporating these foods, and I realized that I was basically just looking for dopamine. It's crazy, but a lot of times our brains are constantly on the search for dopamine because we have so many things to do throughout the day. And so with a pretty packed schedule, especially as an investment banker who was working over 100 hours a week pretty consistently, I found that once I incorporated more of these foods, I was actually able to stay more satiated for a longer period of time. Even though the protein content was the same, getting it from these whole food sources with a lot of tyrosine in them allowed me to have more mental focus, energy, and motivation. So even if you are currently eating a healthy diet and you're getting a lot of good protein sources in, you might want to make sure that they're coming from these tyrosine-rich sources if you've been feeling particularly unmotivated. And of course, it doesn't have to be just protein. Like I mentioned, you can get it from avocados, almonds, and even bananas, so you can get some carbs and fats in there as well. Now, the second thing to do is to get cold exposure. So everyone talks about getting the dopamine rush and how they feel so much more motivated afterwards. And I know I probably sound like a broken record and the 5th YouTuber you've heard talking about this, but cold showers are the real deal. I find myself having a lot of these cold showers right before I come record actually. In fact, I just had one right before this video. And the reason is it kind of gives me that rush that I need to stay focused, the adrenaline pump, without having to overly rely on caffeine or other stimulants or some sort of food that I might reach for. Cold showers have actually been shown to boost dopamine by about 250% and keep it elevated for hours afterwards. So for me, it's not just a physical boost, it's a mental reset. And a lot of times it's a necessity before I do hard tasks like filming a video. Even if you don't want to do a cold shower, what you can do is do 15 seconds of cold water at the end of your shower. It's pretty brutal, but trust me, it is worth it and it will help you be more focused right afterwards. Now, tip number 3 is to get morning sunlight. And this was a huge one for me. I was constantly overeating in the winters. I was especially depressed and I was wondering what the heck was going on. And the reality is, with a lot of us having these jobs that keep us sedentary and indoors, almost none of us are getting the required amount of sunlight that we need in the day. Now, obviously you can take a vitamin D supplement and that's great, but there is really no substitute to getting out and getting active in the sun. So what I suggest is to get outside in the morning and get plenty of morning sunlight. This is going to reset your circadian rhythm and it's going to make you feel a lot better. I found that once I started taking morning walks, I was way more productive at work. I had a better positive outlook on life, and I even started to look forward to more of my day. Rather than every day blending together, it provided this sort of anchor point where I got up in the morning and I knew that I was going to get sunlight even though I was working a lot of hours, and it just made everything seem that much better. So if you're not currently walking outside, go get some sunlight. Now, tip number 4 is an obvious one, which is going to be to get physical activity. A lot of times we reach for food and we reach for other things because we're not actually getting enough physical activity. When we do cardio or we lift weights, we get this dopamine boost in our brain that releases a bunch of feel-good chemicals and just makes us feel accomplished. You'll probably experience this if you've ever noticed that you're more likely to stick to your diet on days that you work out, and it's because you've accomplished something. And it's kind of like, am I going to have that cheeseburger after I just did that grueling workout? Am I really going to ruin my progress like that? Or am I going to stick to the diet and see this through? Not only that, but getting a mood boost and feeling happier is just going to make you less likely to overeat in general. And of course, when you're getting shredded, dopamine is in short supply. The leaner you get, the less dopamine that you have going on in your brain. And of course, you're going to want to maximize your output and maximize your motivation to help you get that shredded physique. Now, tip number 5 is an obvious one, but it's going to be to leverage caffeine. Now, the problem with leveraging just pure caffeine is that you can get jitters and you can often get cravings because sometimes it doesn't sit well in your stomach. It can cause nausea and it can cause your body to oversecrete cortisol, which will then make you crave simple carbs. So I personally have found that pairing caffeine with L-theanine is the best way to go. It allows you to get that adrenaline rush without actually feeling overwhelmed. It's more of a calm, focused energy. What you can do is take coffee and actually pair it with an L-theanine supplement. About 100 milligrams is good enough. Or what you can do is do some green tea, which has naturally occurring L-theanine in it. Having caffeine when things get especially tough has become an exceptional tool for me. Caffeine is a known performance enhancer. It gives you the brain boost you need, and especially if you're working a very difficult job and you need that glucose boost, caffeine is just there to help you along, especially in a difficult dieting phase. When energy reserves are low and you cannot turn to carbs or food like you need to, caffeine and L-theanine is a great option. Now, the next thing I incorporated was Novelty. I used to be someone who believed that you needed to stick to a program to the T all the time to see results. And while it is true that the majority of people aren't sticking to a program long enough or consistently enough, it can also be true that you might just not want to go to the gym because it's almost too stagnant in your routine. So what I found is that by adding in some sort of new exercise or some sort of new music or something to look forward to my workout, some sort of variety, it allowed me to stay much more consistent. In fact, I did this yesterday while I'm on the road traveling. And I normally do a certain type of workout, but I had been walking around all day. I was totally depleted. I didn't even have access to caffeine. So what I did to actually motivate myself and kind of get my nervous system in gear was to do a different exercise than I normally do. Instead of doing inverted rows on the rings, I did seated cable rows. And after that, I felt energized. I felt like I accomplished something new, even though I didn't necessarily lift a whole lot more weight or set crazy PRs. It got me in the gym and it got me in the zone because I felt like there was something new and something to look forward to. So if you're currently dogmatically following a program and you're feeling like you just can't get yourself to the gym, just know it's okay to throw in a little bit of variety and it might even be beneficial. Now, tip number 7 actually relates to recovery. Now, you're not going to be synthesizing a whole lot of dopamine and you're not going to be consistent on your diet if you are under-recovered, underfed, or underslept. Obviously, we're trying to get shredded, so recovery is in low supply, especially when you're getting to the lower levels of body fat like single digit. Your sleep and recovery will suffer. You cannot turn to food for extra recovery, so what can you do? You can take magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate helps calm cortisol spikes and it relaxes your muscles. I personally find that in a steep calorie deficit, my anxiety can be through the roof on certain days. And taking magnesium glycinate before bed really just calms me down, makes me forget about my cravings. I can turn on a good show and just forget about the fact that I'm in a diet. And in addition, if you get that good sleep and that good rest the next day, then you're way more likely to stick to your diet all over again and your willpower is reset. So if you're currently not sleeping well, you're in a steep deficit and you don't know what to leverage, try having some magnesium glycinate. It's really easily absorbed, easy on the digestion, so you don't even have to worry about that. And I highly recommend it. Now, number 8 is going to be more about mental health. And what can happen is the more shredded you get, your brain can start kind of telling you all of these things. Oh, I'm low carb, so I need to do this. Oh, I'm tired, so I deserve to have that extra cookie. I worked out hard today, so I probably need the extra food. And you start rationalizing all these things, and it can create a lot of anxiety. In addition, we all live stressful lives, and it's really, really tough to control our cravings if we are super stressed out. Cortisol is through the roof. You're looking for something sweet. Maybe you don't have your regular outlets. Maybe your kids are stressing you out. Maybe your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever is stressing you out. And in this case, what I actually recommend is to try journaling. I was someone who didn't really believe in journaling and I never took my mental health seriously until I got into such a stressful job and until I started dieting to the single digits, to be really honest. And I realized how much of my food intake had been based around mental cravings and not physical. And so once I started journaling or finding other outlets that allowed me to get my thoughts down onto paper, I found myself just not having a lot of those cravings. I would even find myself sometimes eating because I was disappointed with the last meal that I ate, that it wasn't tasty enough or something like that, even though I was full. But instead, what I started doing was journaling about the fact that I felt okay, and I was just going to try again and be better the next time, and it allowed me to stay much more consistent and not give in to my impulses. So even if you're someone who's skeptical, I highly recommend you give journaling or some sort of mindfulness practice a try. Trust me, I was skeptical too, but if you try it, you won't regret it. So these 8 dopamine hacks are sure to help you stay consistent, motivated, and help you get shredded in 2025. They definitely helped me in the past and continue to help me on my path to recovery, and I'm positive that they're going to make a huge difference in your life as well. These tips not only helped me get shredded in the past, but they're helping me continue to stay lean as I rebuild my body and mind after experiencing severe physical and mental burnout. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Which one are you going to try first? And do you have any dopamine boosting hacks of your own? I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment down below. And of course, if you're ready to level up your fitness and your mindset along with me in 2025, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and let's crush this year together. So good luck boosting your dopamine. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.